around the city. They can have bikes. They can do. It'll increase the foot traffic, and it will encourage business, and it'll encourage the community feel that a lot of us have around the city. I think other things that we need to do is reevaluate how our transportation, where are the heavy points? It goes back to planning during rush hours, planning during what are the heavier growth times when people are trying to come off the highways. It's time.
Thank you. And the final respondent to the first question of this section, Arthur Peabody.
Well, on transportation, I think we need to take a step backward and look at the proposals that are out there to see whether they're workable. When I review the plans, the actual language, they tell us that they will not significantly reduce congestion. They tell us that our Metro bus, our Dash bus system is not adequate. And it seems to me that if we're seeing all these red flags right in the printed pages of the plans, that these proposed solutions have problems, that we need to go and look at the answers. Reducing density, considering what load we're going to place on these specific traffic systems. And just because, we label these systems as smart growth doesn't mean they're smart. That's a generalized concept that has to be brought to bear in each specific factual situation. Are these proposals good for reducing congestion? And I believe that most Alexandrians want relief, they want results, and they've had enough with traffic.
Thank you. One response from Tim Levine.
Well, we need to provide attractive transit options. That's the way to get people out of their cars. And what hasn't been mentioned here, but we need to implement the high-capacity transit corridors that are in the transportation master plan of the city, and the Potomac Yard, in Beauregard, Van Dorn, and in the Duke Street corridor. We need to build the metro station at Potomac Yard, and we need to upgrade our Dash service. But most of all, we need to focus on making attractive transit options for people and making transit the first step in our development decisions in the city.
Thank you. A response? Go ahead.
Yes, Boyd Walker here. I would also like to talk about the transportation issue. My mom, the former city councilwoman Lois Walker, who's sitting in the audience, had a press conference with Chris Zimmerman in 1998 about building a streetcar in Potomac Yard, that it was the right decision, would carry more people than a metro station would, and would connect with Braddock Road to the Pentagon metro station, and then carry everybody in the Potomac Yard corridor. I just had a conversation with Chris Zimmerman, and they are planning on building their streetcar on the Arlington side. So we need to connect with them.
Thank you. Yes, Donna.
As a member of the Transportation Commission and the High Capacity Transit Corridor Work Group, we just recently approved corridors A and B, so now C is already approved by City Council. So high capacity transit will be coming to the city, because what is key to transportation is to make this a walkable community for everybody. We have got to be able to get easily to transit, not only attractive transit, but we've got to be able to get there not just during rush hour, but during every part of our day, so we can all use it all day.
Thank you. Another response from Paul Smedberg.
Thank you. I co-chair the High Capacity Transit Corridor. I'm also vice chair of the VRE, the Virginia Railway Express. So I understand how important it is for us to move ahead very aggressively in these areas of transit. We need to build the metro station in Potomac Yard. We need to fully fund Dash to make sure that our people have options to get to the various transportation hubs. We need to make sure that transportation is key to our small area implementation of the area plans, and we have to do the best we can to complete or to support and use the Complete Streets plan for the city.
Thank you. Another response, Del.
Now, I would like to just add a few things that hadn't been mentioned, and that is increasing the number of the Dash buses and increasing their routes. And one of the things that we did recently was to build or construct a bus, well, we call them bus barns, but a bus facility south of Duke Street, a brand new one, which is really very lovely. And we did it with the idea that we were going to continue to increase the buses. And I think that's important. The other thing is the trolley system that we are beginning with. We've already made the one on King Street very, very successful. And now we want to bring it all the way to Delray.
Thank you. Another response, Allison.
Hi. Speaking of the trolley is so successful on King Street. and it will be successful, I hope, going to Delray. There was some discussion about whether to stop in Delray, and I'm so relieved to hear that it's going to go all the way to Alexandria, because that is where other people deserve transit options too. And it was kind of surprising to me and saddening to me that at first it really wasn't going to go that far. So I'm really relieved that it is, and I'm grateful that it has been discussed, that it's going to go on to Alexandria. So thank you.
Thank you. Did I see one more response? Yes, Justin.
Thank you. I'm a daily mass transit commuter or bike commuter into the district. I'm a strong supporter of providing transportation options to ensure we ease the effects of congestion. Unfortunately, there's going to be candidates out there that are going to tell you they can get rid of traffic, and that's just not a practical answer in our city. The question is how we mitigate traffic so it doesn't affect our quality of life. I believe we need to finish the Potomac Yard Metro Rail Station, which not only is the largest transportation project in this city, but is the largest economic development project in this city right now. And I believe we need to implement the vision of the Transportation Master Plan that we adopted in 2008 that provides for high-capacity transit all throughout our city.
Thank you. Let's move on to question number 2 for the next 5 randomly selected candidates. What is the greatest challenge facing Alexandria's public schools? What specific solutions would you suggest to address that challenge? First up, Donna Fossum.
I think we've got to realize that we have a layer of issues in the school system. We don't have a monolithic set of students, and tailoring the education to each one of them is critical. I also think we need to really seriously rethink the idea that we're not allowing our students to attend schools in other jurisdictions that have special fields of study. For instance, the Thomas Jefferson S&T School is now the number 2 school in the nation, and S&T is where the future jobs are. I think we should allow our students to also be able to attend that if they qualify. We've also got to have our own S&T school and S&T education. So this is what I would urge our school system to move toward, because that's where the future is for everybody. And you can start it in first grade. That's where the fun experiments really happen.
Thank you. Our next, the same question is for our next candidate, Boyd Walker.
Could you repeat the question again?
Yes. What is the greatest challenge facing Alexandria's public schools? What specific solutions would you suggest to address that challenge?
Well, I think one of the greatest challenges is capacity, whether we have the capacity in our schools to handle all the kids who will be coming through, especially with developments like Beauregard, which will be increasing the number of kids in our school system, and whether we have the number of teachers, and we're funding the number of teachers that we need. A lot of people door knocking have told me that MacArthur had to increase its kindergarten size to 22 kids in order to accommodate all the neighborhood kids. When you should be able to go to your neighborhood school because that unites the neighborhood. The parents in that neighborhood can work together in that school. So they should be able to go to that school. And I agree with Donna. Thomas Jefferson should be an option. I do not think it would be a brain drain on T.C. Williams to send 10 kids to Jefferson and give them that opportunity.
Thank you. Del Pepper.
I believe that it's more than just one issue, but the one thing that I would like to emphasize is the need for us to keep our classes small. This is the only way the teacher knows at the end of a class whether or not the student has really gotten the message, and that's really important. Also, it gives the teacher a better opportunity to know that child as well as that child's family, and this can be really very important. The other thing is that we are going to always need to have preschools so that the children that come to our city are ready when it comes time for kindergarten. This is important that everybody start on the same playing field. And then lastly, I think we need to really be doing a better job of trying to meet each child's need as they go through the system, such that by the time they are in high school, they are prepared to be out in the world, to be all that they can be, and to go to college or get a good job that they are interested in.
Thank you. Same question, Allison Silberberg.
Well, I agree with what Del just said regarding the individual attention to each child and their needs. I've taught kids in Anacostia through a program that I started to help them realize their potential. And then I tutored 2 fourth graders at MacArthur Elementary and helped them go from the bottom of their class to the top. I think that our school system, while it has many positive points, can always use improvement, and smaller the classroom, the better. Tutoring, after-school programs, apprenticeship programs. These are the kinds of things that I've worked on in my nonprofit sector work, and I've seen the successes. And so I just want to encourage our school system to do more of that. I think our teachers deserve a lot of credit, and anything we can do to support them, but also anything that we can support the parents at home to help them work with the kids once they get home with their homework. And then, of course, I would love to see more civic engagement for all the students of all ages to get them out into the community so they feel vested in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last person to respond to this question in this section before we get into the responses is Tim Levain.
The Alexandria schools face some very special challenges. Half of the kids are on free reduced lunch, over 80 languages spoken at home, 1/3 turnover of the student body every year. I agree with a lot of what's been said, but I think I want to really emphasize the excellence of this school system. I have 3 girls in the public schools. They've all had an excellent education. The teachers in the system are just extraordinary, just wonderful teachers at every school that we've had encountered. And so I think a lot of it is not only good facilities, but early childhood development is important, but also just some more support and appreciation for the great job our teachers do already.
Thank you. Our next response is from Arthur Peabody.
The challenge for the school system really is, do we want to keep doing the same thing over and over again that fails students, or do we have the courage to be creative and do things differently? And as a member of our school board, I've supported that change and led that charge for change. As a community, our challenge is to come together, the city, the schools, the churches, the police, everyone. If we're serious about narrowing the achievement gap, it takes a grand alliance. And as to science, last year, a T.C. Williams student won the National Science Fair competition, the National Science Fair. That means across the entire country. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next response, Victoria Menivar.
I think that we need to create a Thomas Jefferson School in our city, and we can do that. If we are able to identify the strength of the students and taking into account their culture too, we can probably put excellent programs to identify how we can help them to succeed. And of course, we need to take into account that the majority of our students are in free or reduced lunch, but we shouldn't use that against them. If we send kids to another school out of the city, we will not send our students.
Thank you. The next response card I saw was from John Chapman.
All right. I think as an educator, I know that the biggest issue that we have in Alexandria school system is capacity. We are trying to fit too many kids into too small of buildings, or too few buildings. I believe on tap there are 2 schools that should be built, by most estimates, should be built in the city. And one of the issues that's going to arise when trying to build those is the issue of funding. So we need to find public-private partnerships that are going to help us stretch our dollars to be able to accommodate that, because we can't fit tons of kids into classrooms we don't have. Our neighbors are moving into our neighborhoods, and they're not able to go to their neighborhood school because that school can no longer fit their students.
Thank you. Sean Hallahan.
One of the things I hear over and over out the doors, and we've been to over 3,000 of them in this community, is we have a bad perception. We have a real bad perception. Parents are really concerned about the direction of our schools. We need better oversight of CIP. Our adult education program is in big trouble. And the thing is, we talk about kids who are members of families whose parents don't speak English at home. Well, they need help with homework. And we need to keep funding our adult education system. And John pegged it. We need funding. So we can't re-elect people to council who want to cut $1.2 million plus out of our schools. We need to elect progressive Democrats to council, not someone like Frank Fannin.
Sammy Motionberg.
Yeah, I just want to remind everyone that the City Council has the power of the purse. The City Council is responsible for the operating budget and the CIP budget of the schools. I'm a former educator. I know how important it is for creative ideas to move our children forward. But the most important thing we can do is to fund our schools to the maximum amount and make sure that